welcome to another episode of Cab Fit. Last time we talked about nutrition and I showed you the inside of our fridge. Now I wanted to show you some of the delicious things that we make with the things inside our fridge and inside our cupboards. So when I decided to pursue a keto and healthy lifestyle, one of the things I didn't want to compromise on was chocolate. So today I'm going to be showing you folks how to make a delicious tray of chocolate brownies. Chocolate nut brownies, so if you have a nut allergy, these may not be for you. These have 38 grams of protein, 30 grams of fiber, and 22 grams of net carbs. So, I mean, you could eat the whole tray, but I'd recommend you share it or don't. And yeah, I'm just gonna get right into it and show you guys how to make these. And then I'm going to enjoy a piece myself after. All right, let's get started. So we've got dry ingredients on the right, a couple, well, one moist one in the middle there, and a few more liquids on the left. So I'm just gonna go over the most controversial of the ingredients. Crickets, 100% ground crickets. So a couple of things about these. First, if you're allergic to shellfish, you probably shouldn't eat them because they are, I guess, some sort of crustacean, so you may have a reaction. Second, they are one of Earth's most sustainable foods. So, I mean, you can breed like a bajillion crickets, you can grind them all down, there's going to be a bajillion more because they're insects and it's an almost inexhaustible resource. They have 13 grams of protein in 2.5 tablespoons of this powder. So you don't even need that much. Like I put about a quarter cup in and that turns this entire tray of brownies into protein bars. Again, sustainable, tremendously good for you. High amount of protein, even a little dash of fiber in there, no sugar whatsoever, very little calories. There's no reason not to be eating these other than, of course, the bug. If you can get over the fact that this was at one point some many-legged little creature, as you see on the label there, then you can probably eat crickets, no problem. It's really just a fear thing. They don't taste like anything. They have absolutely no flavor whatsoever. So you can put them in anything, and I have put them in pretty much any baked good that you can think of, and even in some casseroles and whatnot. So fantastic ingredient. If you're not comfortable with this, just go with a protein powder that you're comfortable with. Obviously watch the sugar content. It should have no sugar whatsoever. And if it's whey, then this is not going to be vegan. I'm not really sure what the vegan stance is on crickets because, I mean, they're not animals or red-blooded. So who knows, but I'll examine that later. And if there's any vegans out there in the comments that want to give me their opinion on crickets, please do. So that's the big ingredient. That's what makes them, well, it's one of the things that makes them healthy. Next we have Swerve. This is just plant fiber and oligosaccharides, I believe. So it's got erythritol. So again, next to no impact on your blood sugar. This is the icing sugar variant. There's also a granular one if you want like sort of a cinnamon sugar kind of texture if you're going for that, or something gritty. So I prefer this one though because it goes with baking really well. We have almond flour. So this is your one-to-one replacement for flour. You can also do coconut flour, but the problem with coconut, which we're going to get to in a second, is that it really sucks up moisture. So you have to play with the moisture levels. I want to keep it simple for this recipe, so I'm not going to use coconut flour. We are going to use, however, lots of coconut. So this is desiccated coconut. I buy this by the kilo. And yeah, it's really good for you. Again, it has lots of fiber. That seems to be a recurring theme because on the keto diet, you do eat a lot of proteins and you can have problems with constipation if you're not keeping yourself flush with fluids and fiber. So it's very important to have fiber in anyone's diet, but especially on the keto diet. So yeah, we're gonna put in about a couple of cups of this, actually, probably about 2.5 cups of this into the recipe. I'm gonna list all the ingredients and their amounts at the end. We also have pecans. So it wouldn't be a brownie without some crunch. So we're gonna add some crushed pecan pieces. I like the pecan pieces because they're cheaper than buying pecans. So a bag of this is about 20 bucks, and this is a kilo, I think. And whereas if you, yeah, 1 kilogram. Whereas if you're to buy like actual whole pecans, you'll pay like 2 to 3 times that just because they're intact. So that's wasteful. There's a bit of stevia, which I may use for the topping. So sometimes I just put a bit of cocoa and stevia together and I just dust it over and it gives it like this really nice little sort of sharp chocolate finish. We're not there yet though. Actually, speaking of the chocolate, since it's right here, we're gonna use some 100% pure cocoa powder. All right, so this is unsweetened. There's no sugar. It's just 100% pure cocoa powder. It smells delicious. I wish you could smell this. I love the smell of this. And this is actually chocolate. Is one of those things that I just didn't want to give up when I decided I was going to eat healthy. So I'm glad that I've discovered this way of baking. And of course, in keeping with the fiber theme, we've got almost the last of our dry ingredients here, some pumpkin seeds. So huge amount of fiber in these, 2 grams of fiber per 1/4 of a cup. And the reason why I like them too is that they're just a nice filler too. They give it a bit of crunch along with the nuts, but I prefer pumpkin seeds. Even ground ones are even better because if you get them in powder, just as opposed to the other sort of chia seeds and whatnot, because those are phytoestrogenic. So I'm a natural bodybuilder. I don't take steroids or supplements of any kind, but I also watch what just the natural foods that I eat can do to my body. So soy, excesses of lactose, like these things can throw off your hormone balance. So I prefer these because they have next to no biological impact on my testosterone or my estrogen levels or anything. They just leave you alone, right? Give you a bit of fiber. So we've got that. And then of course we've got some delicious Camino chocolate. All right. So I have taken a hammer to this and worked out some of my angst. I'm not really an angsty person, so, you know, I felt sad for the chocolate actually. I smashed this up with a hammer, and that's how you get all your lovely little chocolate bits. Keep it in this wrapper when you do that. So these wrappers are actually quite sturdy. If you take it out of the wrapper, you can have all sorts of problems and a big mess on your hands. So keep it in the wrapper, give it a light little hammer, and break it all up. Almost at the end of our ingredients here, so moving into the wet ones. We've got some pumpkin. So this is, it doesn't have to be organic, but I mean, it doesn't hurt, right? Again, keeping with the trend, lots of fiber, all right? So we got lots of fiber in this, and very, very little actual carbohydrates. The entire tray, if you make it as is, will have about 22 net carbs divided by about 12 brownies. So it has next to no impact on your blood sugar levels. Don't eat the tray because there's a ton of fiber in this and there still are calories, and you're gonna have some explosive diarrhea. So, you know, I've warned you. If you go to town because they're so good the first time you make them, you're like, oh my god, and you're covered in chocolate and rolling on the floor, you're gonna want to hit the toilet soon because it's gonna be unpleasant. There's a lot of fiber happening on this counter here. Okay, keep that in mind. So yes, pumpkin. I've got some ghee. If you want to go the vegan route, as we discussed, you can just supplant this with coconut oil or one of your favorite oils. Some Simply Organic vanilla. All right, this is a great vanilla, no sugar added, no artificial alcohols or anything like that. Where are the ingredients? Yeah, it's just organic alcohol and organic vanilla bean extract. A pinch of salt, and then some eggs. So as far as eggs, very simple. I wanted to keep this very simple. So it's going to be 1 egg per cup of dry ingredients. If you make a bigger batch of brownies and you start throwing in more dry ingredients, because that's the fun of baking, you just sort of follow your heart and your senses and see where they take you, and most of the time it turns out great, sometimes it's horrible. So if you decide to sort of play with the recipe a bit, which I encourage, it's always going to be 1 extra egg per cup of dry ingredients, or per added fluffiness. Sometimes I'll just throw one in because I want them to puff up a bit more. Eggs are a cornerstone to keto baking, so things won't rise without them, and you usually use a lot more than you would use in traditional baking because you don't have the sugar and the yeast and all the other things interacting. So let's get to an overview of everything once it's in the bowl, but those are your basic ingredients. Any questions? I'm going to be posting the recipe down in the comments. It should be the top comment, and or sorry, actually in the body of the actual video. And if you have any questions, just feel free to shout off in the comments, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. All right, let's move on. Okay, so here we are. So here's our dry ingredients. You probably can't even spot the crickets. Can you tell which is crickets and which is cocoa powder? You can't. These are the crickets, in case you were curious, all right? So we got our seeds in there, we got our flour, we've got our powdered sugar, powdered fake sugar, and then of course in the bottom we've got our coconut and the rest of it, chocolate chunks there, pecans here. And when I say these are easy bake, I literally mean like this is all you do. You just mix up the dry. I do some time lapsing here, we'll see how long this takes me. Okay, that's probably good enough. Everything seems consistently colored, kind of that nice light chocolate brown. And then we're gonna add our wet ingredients. So here I've got my ghee. So it's literally half a cup of ghee that I've just melted. And I'm just gonna pour that right on in. I wish you could smell this stuff. It smells a bit like, I know that sounds gross, maybe to some people, but it smells like movie theater butter. It has that really nutty, rich kind of flavor to it and scent. So we're gonna add that. We're gonna do 6 eggs because I actually overloaded these a bit, added a bit more coconut, and some dry ingredients. 2, oh, we got a little bit of shell in there. There we go. 3, 4, 5. You can tell I'm not a classically trained baker. My partner can do that thing where he like cracks it and does that whole fancy one-handed egg drop. I'm not quite that talented. All right, there we are, the wonders of time lapsing. So you're gonna mix all this in. It's gonna start to turn into sort of like a paste in a bit. I'm just using a fork. You don't have to use a whisk. In fact, sometimes if it's a small enough whisk, it'll be mostly annoying and all the stuff will get jammed up in the middle of the whisk. All right, I'm not gonna lie to you too, this is the most demanding part of the recipe, because folding this stuff will give you quite the forearm workout. It's all part of my diabolical plan to get people exercising even when they're making themselves treats. So keep that fork on handy too, because you're going to want to use it to work through any lumps. You might even want to use it at first just to get some of the pumpkin in there. But it works best when you fold it in. All right, okay. So here we are. So I'm not gonna lie, I mean, it looks a bit like, you know, 2 girls, 1 cup. But it tastes significantly better, I promise. So, and it should have that nice smooth, the pumpkin is what gives it that like a much more smooth consistency. Okay, so we're gonna get that into a tray, which I've lined with parchment paper. And again, just do that one last little sweep. Make sure you haven't left anything at the bottom. Make sure the color's even. That's the oven telling me that it's time. It's time to get these bad boys in. I shall be devouring them soon enough, I suppose. There we go. All right. Okay, so here is our parchment paper lined pan. And again, the reason why I like parchment paper so much is that it just, I mean, it replaces all of that flouring and oiling and all the nonsense you have to do before you actually put a baked good into something. So we're just going to take this mixture with our spatula and we're literally just going to dump it in there. Nothing fancy. Again, these are not fancy pants brownies. These are meant to be easy. So in it goes. Again, looks a bit like a giant turd, but all brownies do, regardless of whether they're healthy or not. There we go. Take everything out and then just smooth it down. So we're probably gonna do some more time lapsing here. Okay, there we are. All right, so I think I'd mentioned this earlier, but we're just gonna dust it just for a little bit of that sharp tartness, just with a little bit of Stevia, which is a much sharper sweetness, so it's no more noticeable. Just a little bit of Stevia on top, and then a little bit of cocoa powder, which I'm gonna go grab. There, she's done. Okay, into the oven it goes. I will see you guys in an hour. There we go, folks. It is moist, it is dense, it is delicious, and in a moment I will be eating it. So thank you for tuning in. Recipes can be down in the comments, and again, you can also touch base with me down there if you have any questions. Have a great day. Bye.